Welcome to Future Ready Live, where we discuss topics that will help CPAs, CGMAs, and their organizations adapt and thrive in an accelerating, exponentially changing world. I'm your host, Tom Hood, the EVP of Business Engagement and Growth at AICPA and CIMA. We're the largest global body of certified professional accountants in the world. April 30th was National Apprenticeship Day. This is the second broadcast in a series that we join with other professions, government and workforce leaders, and the education community in apprenticeship in rebuilding our economy and supporting underserved communities. Today, we have our very first graduate from our registered apprenticeship program for finance business partner. This is with the U.S. Department of Labor, and he's going to share his experience and perspective on his apprenticeship work. So everybody welcome Jeff Culp, MBA, CGMA, Certified Finance Business Partner, and he's the Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer in the Business Transformation Office of Liberty Bank. Jeff is the first person to finish the AICPA and CIMA program and obtain the CGMA designation, along with the U.S. Department of Labor certified certificate as a finance business partner. Jeff, congratulations. Happy Apprenticeship Day and welcome to the program.
Hi, Tom. Thanks. It's my pleasure to be here.
I think the last time I saw you, we were in Maryland at Apprenticeship Week not too long ago, and you were with the U.S. Department of Labor and the Maryland Department of Labor getting recognized and your official certificate. So
yeah,
I just
to say that was an exciting day, and for Liberty Bank and for me as well. As we've partnered with you and the AICP on this program, it's really been a game changer from my view for us.
That's good to hear. It's what we hope. So let's start with that, right? Liberty Bank, you were the earliest adopter of the apprenticeship program through your CFO, Paul Young, who serves on our Future Finance Leadership Advisory Group. Tell us why you think Liberty signed on to this thing and how you're using the program, not just for you, but across the org.
Sure. And I may reference, I know Paul's talked a little bit about this in the past, but if you were to go back to, let's say, right after the pandemic, we were having challenges in terms of trying to recruit some finance positions. And from Paul and my perspective, we didn't necessarily have the right skill set within the bank itself. So when Paul learned about this program, in terms of being able to potentially upskill existing employees and use as a recruiting tool to bring new employees into the organization, he was incredibly excited and joined immediately with the program. And, as I think about it from an organizational perspective, it really is pretty powerful from a recruiting tool perspective. And I'll give an example. So, we have three apprentices currently working at the bank. We're actually just in the process of hiring a fourth. And none of those individuals have an accounting, finance, business degree. If you were to go back, 5-10 years ago, and I was going to hire a position and somebody didn't have a finance, accounting, business degree, I think the answer would have been, thanks, but no thanks. But, this program has kind of changed my view and our view on bringing talented, motivated folks into the organization who maybe don't have that specific skill set yet, but here's an opportunity, here's a way to help those folks get that experience, get that knowledge, and then, I like the term, earn and learn while you're on the way.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, it's been absolutely fantastic. We've been able to attract external folks. One of our very first apprentices, Daryl Bonner, came to us from Naval Academy graduate, was in a financial management program and in the Marines. And when he wanted to go into the private industry, his background is or his degree is political science. Again, you go back 5-10 years ago and I was hiring, it probably would have been thanks, but no thanks. But according to this program now, we can bring Daryl in and I also have to say this was a critical aspect in terms of Daryl selecting and coming to Liberty Bank, because he was being heavily recruited by other banks in the area, insurance companies, and this program really resonated with him so that he could learn and work towards his CGMA designation and better understand the organization. Because what our CFO Paul Young has done is he has joined this program along with what we call our CFO rotational program, where the apprentices come in and spend time, let's say 5 months, 6 months in each different discipline within Paul's organization. So within the FP&A organization, the controllers group, the treasurers group, we have a project management office. They spend time with them. So they have an opportunity to learn, but then apply those skills in each one of those individual disciplines. So to me, that's a really powerful combination. I think that's what's helped made it, really successful for us in terms of being able to recruit top talent in.
That's good. And I know Daryl because he's been with us on our Future Finance as well with you guys. So yeah, just thinking about that. Here's a graduate from the U.S. Naval Academy, right? Experience in the Marines, has a degree, but is not in finance or accounting. So he would take years to get all the credits to get a credential. And
exactly.
While he's on the job, getting experience. And also, by the way, the program is all experiential scenarios and case studies. It's not all memorize and reiterate multiple choice questions, right? So that makes it a whole different experience. That's you just stated the whole reason we thought this was going to be a great program. But tell us a little bit about you now. So what was your background before you went into this program? Because you wouldn't be my typical person I'd say needed it. You were already doing a lot of this work, but yet you went and stepped up and took it. So talk about what motivated you to do that.
Sure. So I think Paul affectionately named the folks the Great Eight that were joining the program. And you're right, we had a really diverse group of folks, more, let's say, junior folks who were joining the program, as well as myself and another senior finance person. For me, it was pretty easy. I wanted to update and maybe expand or broaden my knowledge a little bit, particularly in a couple of different areas that wouldn't necessarily focus on, let's say, the traditional finance, accounting lens. I was interested in the strategic management side, the risk management side, corporate governance, looking at strategy formulation, and those are all key elements of the program where perhaps I have a little bit less experience, and I wanted to better understand and see how they could be applied here in my current role at Liberty Bank. So for me, I was looking for a challenging program. And, this really fit the bill based upon understanding those different areas that I was going to have an opportunity to learn more about.
And didn't you already have an MBA degree before that?
Correct.
So tell me about so that's what surprised me, because the whole strategy layer is what we hear a lot of even CPAs and finance people need. But you even had an MBA on top of that. And yet, so how did that help you? How did this differentiate from what you already had in the MBA background to what you were learning in this program? Any comments on that?
Sure. So, what I would say is some of the depth and the breadth of the learnings, to me, kind of went beyond what I remember. The MBA was probably 20 years ago. What I remember going through in the MBA course, but there was a couple other aspects of it that to me were really challenging, but I enjoyed. I think you may have just mentioned a little while ago, which is the business simulations that you go through. It's not. You're right. It's not multiple choice. What you do is you go through a business simulation and you have to apply your knowledge to a specific simulated circumstance. And what I remember, not in every class back during my MBA, but I do remember there were classes where it was essentially memorization and parroting back. and you memorize it and you do well on the exam, but you remember it the next day. If you can take some knowledge and apply it to a circumstance, then you've ingrained it into yourself, and that topic, that concept, whatever it is. And that's where I think that simulation that you go through in the different in the different layers of the CGMA, I think is so powerful, because to me it really ingrains into you that knowledge and understanding. That, I think that was some of the real differences that I saw, and as I went through the strategic level for the CGMA.
That's neat to hear. So talk a bit about what would be your most significant takeaway from this apprenticeship experience in your role?
Yeah, there are a couple things. One, it was pretty cool and pretty profound to be able to see it live in action. And what I mean by that is, here at Liberty Bank, we do a strategic plan every year. We have a 3-year strategic plan that we update. And as we go through that process and refresh it, it's kind of like a rolling strategic plan. What I was able to see is the framework that we were putting in place was very well mirrored what I was learning in the CGMA. In terms of, you set your mission, vision, and values. You do your internal, external evaluation. You go through and identify different options. You make implementation choices, and it kind of makes sense because our CFO Paul Young helped put together the strategy process. And with Paul's experience being a prior CGMA alum as well, it fit perfectly. So for me, it was really powerful to see that live and directly in your face and in action, and participate with that. So that was one real key takeaway for me, was the relevance and the applicability that I could see day one as I was going through the program.
That's cool. So so talk about when you talk to other people in the bank, how are you seeing them respond to this program as well, and the grade 8, so to speak, as you would talk about?
Yeah, they're excited about it. Another skill that I've tried to foster has to do with what I'll call like critical thinking skills, and this is something that I'm seeing in some of the folks that are participating in the program. This program, in comparison to what I described before, or maybe you're just parroting back or regurgitating information, it's fostering critical thinking skills that are challenging folks to look at things a little bit differently. So I'll give a real simple example. When we go through monthly analysis at the bank and do variance analysis versus our budget, or maybe versus prior year, maybe some more junior analysts would identify, okay, I'll make this up, we're under budget by $50,000 in the month, and it's in legal expenses, and that would be it. And I'd be like, oh, okay, where is it? Why is it happening? Let's go through, start thinking about, attacking it differently, and think about what your boss may ask in terms of questions. Don't just answer the question that he or she's asking. Think 1 or 2 steps down the road. What might they ask? And have that information ready at hand. That's the critical thinking and taking the next steps that I'm starting to see the folks do. And that's part of the learning process, but it's exciting. And I think it's more rewarding for them, because now they can make it their own. And rather than just identify, well, we're under budget by 50,000 legal, now they get to the whys and what's driving it, what's happening, talk to the business partner, better understand it. That's where you really get, you own it. It becomes something that you're excited about, because you're really contributing and helping to drive the performance of the organization.
Which is the whole essence of a finance business partner, right? It's actually, so, what you said there is interesting, because every time we present to finance teams and we always ask them a poll, like, what's the number one skill you need in your group? The number one skill they say is strategic and critical thinking. And you just said this program really is delivering on that, but with experience, right? They're actually looking at it, learning it, and applying it.
Correct. And it's a great opportunity to, learn in that setting, self-paced, online settings where you're getting that experience, and then the next day you can go into work and try to start applying it, in your everyday job. So, that's where I talked before about the relevance and the applicability to me is really powerful.
That is fantastic to hear. It's great to hear from a seasoned finance transformation guy with an MBA who's saying it added value and helped you do the job even better from that standpoint. I mean, talk about the rest of the grade 8. Didn't you have a couple that were, so Daryl was like, I would call non-traditional, coming out of the Naval Academy, but a Naval Academy degree is no slouch thing, right? So he's got a pretty good pedigree. Do you have any other people that are coming from other areas of the bank yet that I know that's what Paul was ready to bring that in for other non-finance functions that might come in and be wanting to transfer to finance. Do you have any of those in the program?
Great. That's a great question, because you're right. It's a tool to not only attract, externally talent into the organization, but to give an opportunity for folks within the bank who may have an interest in numbers and finance and accounting. Again, I'll use that example. You go back in past history. If I had an open position and somebody from retail that didn't have a finance degree or an accounting degree, wanted to apply for a financial analyst position, I mean, they could certainly apply, but the answer probably would have been, thanks, but no thanks. But part of this, due to this program now, and we have a perfect example, Shal Stevens was in the retail network, assistant vice president, supervisor position, doing really well, but was interested in something different. She has a degree in psychology. So, here's a perfect, let's say non-business background. But she was interested in something different. She was interested in and always kind of enjoyed, the number side. So, she has joined and she's just absolutely blossomed. She spent time within the Treasury group. She's currently within the financial planning and analysis group. And, this is the example of giving those opportunities, those career pathing opportunities that just didn't exist before. And, I always kind of laugh. And to me, finance and accounting has always been an exporter of talent in the past. We can now be an importer of talent because of this program and, creating buzz, creating excitement, creating, career paths for folks.
Yeah.
Something that, maybe didn't exist before. And it's making finance and accounting a destination. And, who would have said that before in the past?
It's true. That's so cool. I mean, that was kind of our aspiration when we learned about these programs, and that's what made us file for that in the U.S. Department of Labor. But it was, expanding our talent pool. That was one thing the Future Finance Group told us. They needed to get access to more people to get into these jobs, so they couldn't just rely on the same old degrees that we always did, because there's a shortage of those accountants in the marketplace from those degree colleges. And then the other one was to, as we would say, widen the kind of whole talent pool too, to get more diverse talent from all over the organizations or your communities to be able to come in with a really good paying job, and which is what finance gives them. So that was a big chunk of it. And then the other one, I think, is, and you just articulated it, is for you guys to be able to build your own talent pool. Because many finance organizations rely on, recruiting out of college, but then you still got to give them more skills to do the job right in the bank. And then the second part is they're often, competing with the big four who are picking off all the top talent. So they don't have a good talent pool to go after. So it gives you that and so is it helping you legitimately with recruiting?
Oh, no question. The fourth apprentice that we just hired, we received, and I believe this is not an exaggeration, upwards of 200 applications for that position. So within just a matter of, let's call it 2 years, the word has gotten out in Connecticut that Liberty, in partnership with the AICPA, has this apprenticeship program, and it has just blossomed. I mean, we were just inundated with, wonderful, really talented, exciting folks, we Nick Lacavera, who heads up our FP&A team, as I've moved into a different role, was just, with giddy with, the opportunities here, and had to narrow it down to one individual. And I think that person starts shortly. But, what a great problem to have, right?
Yeah, we don't hear many of those problems, Jeff, believe me, in the finance and accounting world. That's incredible. So just from you guys, so it was posted, I guess, inside the job description. And I know there's been a lot of publicity on LinkedIn and social and all about what you're doing, but it's not like there's a big advertising campaign. So the word just is organically spreading about apprenticeships, finance, and what you guys are doing.
I think that, combined with, we've had our human resources organization has put together a really, really great summer internship program over the last few years. So I think folks are hearing that, and then also hearing about this, the full-time apprenticeship program, and it's just giving us an opportunity to touch so many different, avenues from opening up that talent pipeline that weren't there 5 years ago. So that's what's really exciting for us.
That's really cool to hear. And you're an exemplar because you went through the program yourself with all your background. You obviously can talk to it. So, all right, let's wrap up with what's final word. What would you want to say to our audience about your experience, this registered apprenticeship, anything about that? It's your mic.
Okay. Well, I'll look at it from two different hats. One would be the person going through it, and then the other would be, from a leadership perspective, trying to, draw folks into the organization. For those folks that are interested in participating in the program, I always like to give a balanced view. It's a commitment, and it's a challenge to go through, this program. It's, at the end of the day, you're going to end up with, a prestigious designation. So, there's going to be work associated with it, but it's manageable. From my view, it's manageable, and it's totally worth it because it broadens, as I mentioned, what I was interested in was expanding and broaden my knowledge and experience. And I feel that's really helped equip me for, any new opportunities that might come down the road. And whether you're starting at, the operational level or the other, managerial or strategic level, take advantage and enjoy as much as this may sound ridiculous, enjoy the journey, because while you're focused on that end goal of receiving the designation, right, there's something to be learned about going through the journey, and being proud of accomplishing something that is really challenging, and persevering through a program and learning, and then seeing how you can apply that on the job. So I think there's wonderful benefits as you learn through the journey, and then you can apply that to other areas of your life as well. So from a personal standpoint, those are the recommendations I would give there. From a employer perspective, I think it's a no-brainer. Perfect way to open up that talent pipeline, upskill existing folks who are interested and motivated to take on the challenge, and then you can start backfilling open positions with more junior folks who are going through this program. So it's a way to keep feeding the talent within your organization, and building upon the skill sets that you're looking for as your folks move into managerial positions, and then as you bring in folks in a more entry level or more junior level, building those skill sets, so that when I think of from a retention and a turnover perspective, at least from Liberty perspective, we've had zero turnover associated with that, because I think folks appreciate and understand that you're investing within them, and you're providing them the tools, you're providing them the mentorship for them to learn and continue to have great experiences, and seeing how they can apply that directly to their jobs. So for those organizations that are giving it consideration, I would strongly recommend that you go through, particularly if you're having some challenges finding that right skill set in terms of bringing new folks within your organization. It's worked wonders for us here at Liberty.
That's what a great story. So I just want to say thank you again, Jeff, for everything you've done. But most importantly, in honor of National Apprenticeship Day, it couldn't be better than to have the first certified finance business partner from the U.S. Department of Labor and a new CGMA in our community, and went through the program and everything else. So you and Liberty Bank are exemplars of exactly what we hoped for this program. So thank you for giving us your time today and being part of this important program.
It's been my pleasure. Love talking with you and love talking about this program. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right. So I want to tell my audience out there, you can follow Jeff Culp on LinkedIn, Jeffrey A. Culp, C-U-L-P. And you can then join us for the rest of these episodes, the first and third Tuesday at noon Eastern, for our Future Ready Live right here on my LinkedIn profile. And with that, Jeff, say bye to our audience and happy National Apprenticeship Day.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.